What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. It's Super Bowl 60. It's time for some anytime touchdowns. I got my guys, Sean, Koerner, and Gilles Gallant with me. We're going to give you a few different bets for the Super Bowl. We're going to get a parlay going, favorite long shot. We'll talk King of the End Zone as well. Hit our parlay last week with the JSN, Kenneth Walker, Cortland Sutton. Jill, what's going on? A nice call. I believe you were the Sutton leg of that, so it's a nice call on that one. How you feeling heading into Super Bowl 60?
I like the matchup. I mean, I wish I could say I feel great about trying to get behind a Patriots, keeping it close. I still just feel like this is going to be a very dominant Seahawks win. So, but we'll see how this game goes, and I think we got some good touchdown bets to line up with that kind of script.
Yeah, I find it. I mean, Koerner, I don't know about you, but from a handicapping perspective, I think this is one of the more kind of fun games to handicap and kind of look at. Okay, what do you think is going to happen? Because I think maybe it's the defensive head coaches, but I just feel like there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of different outcomes, more than usual, especially because you and I were just kind of talking about how the Seahawks have been a little bit chalky this postseason. But any thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about length now. I think you and I have given out like 15 bets so far, so why not a few more today?
Oh, hell yeah. All right. Let's and before we get into the touchdowns, I'll toss it over for a word from our sponsor, DraftKings. The Action Network podcast has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code Action Network when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code Action Network when signing up and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. All right, don't forget, if you want to tail some of the bets, you can look for the quick slip links in the podcast and video descriptions, or go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. So there's only one game, obviously, but we want to have obviously we want to give you guys a bunch of different ways to kind of attack this. Again, I do think there are numerous possibilities just because of the way the matchup sets up. So we're gonna start with our favorite Super Bowl touchdown parlay. So instead of just each giving a bet and we combine it into a parlay at the end, we're gonna do each one of us is gonna kind of give a multi-leg parlay here with touchdowns. Koerner, you're up first. Where are we going for our Super Bowl 60 parlay?
Yeah, I'm going to go with both starting tight ends here. So Hunter Henry and AJ Barner. And it comes out to 10-1. So I like those odds. And, the first part of that is Hunter Henry, who, Stuckey, he's on his over. He's made some excellent points. Why, this is a good spot for him because, the Seahawks defense is really good. But if there was the Achilles heel in their, pass defense, I guess it would be the tight end. So I like Henry there. Plus he doesn't always need to rely on cheap tight ends, cheap touchdowns, like around the goal line in the end zone. He has 3 touchdowns over 25 yards. 5 of his 8 touchdowns have been, over 10 yards. So he has multiple ways of getting there. I just hope it doesn't happen in the first quarter because I have his under 4.5 yards in the first quarter. Maybe, like a 4-yard touchdown would be fine. I'd win both bets. But I think kind of the way to approach Henry is he gets off to such slow starts that if he's, shut out in the first quarter, that's probably the best time to actually invest in his touchdown market. It's probably going to be over 3-1 at that point. So I think the live angle for Henry is start hammering his props, at the end of the first quarter. But I digress. He's the first leg of this. The second leg is my guy, AJ Barner. Have to go with him. He can get this as a normal pass-catching tight end. He has 6 receiving touchdowns on the season. But, he has that added upside as the main ball carrier in their tush-push play. And I think, with Zach Charbonnet out, that just increases the chances of them kind of leaning on Barner in those, short yard situations. I know, Raybon, you mentioned it where Kenneth Walker, if it's first and goal on the 1, Kenneth Walker might get the first crack at it. And if he doesn't get in there, they might be like, okay, we're done messing around. Get Barner in there. And that might happen because, Charbonnet was excellent, scored 9 rushing touchdowns inside the 5 on 18 attempts. So about a, 50% rate. Walker scored on just 4 of 9 rush attempts inside the 5. So, 44% of the time. And that's been kind of a theme with him in his career. Last year, it was just 4 touchdowns on 12 rush attempts inside the 5. So he's not really a short yardage back. He's more of a home run hitter. So AJ Barner makes a ton of sense to get in there. And he has a 90% success rate on the tush push. That's the highest success rate of any ball carrier with 10 plus carries on the season. So I don't know why they wouldn't just give it to him if they get, goal to go situations. So I like AJ Barner and Hunter Henry to score at 10-1 here.
Yeah. And, I know Joe is going to talk about Kenneth Walker. I actually think Barner and Walker probably would struggle to get it in. But the good thing is they can catch the ball too. They can just catch receiving touchdowns. So because the Patriots, to running backs, I'll put this stat out there. In the games Milton Williams played, they gave up 2 touchdowns to running backs on 262 carries. And overall, a 1.2 touchdown rate percentage in those games, just overall to all players. So it's probably going to have to come through the air. So, if anyone is out there listening, a lot of these touchdowns we like on the Seahawks, like you probably want to parlay it with something with Sam Darnold as well. Cause I think I personally at least think a lot of the stuff is going to have to kind of come through the air. But Joe, that brings me to you. So Koerner had Barner Henry 10-1. Where are we going with your favorite Super Bowl 60 touchdown parlay?
Yeah. And I know that you were kind of considering of whether or not you're going to take Kenneth Walker for no touchdown. Like at this point, I think you actually do have that bet.
I have
in the Action
Believe
Network
me.
app.
Last year it was Saquon. That was one of my favorite bets to hit because they just never offer those markets, but also because he was the favorite. So yeah, that's just a signature Raybon bet. So don't mind me.
Well, at least this year there may be an AJ Barner,
what
but
is it? Plus 150?
Plus 150.
Plus 150. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And I think the main thing too, the reason why, I'm still going to go with Kenneth Walker in this spot because even though AJ Barner has been effective, he's not. There's no Jalen Hurts in this offense to kind of vulture, like kind of happened in the Super Bowl last year. 4 touchdowns in 2 playoff games for KW. Like again, I think with it being the Super Bowl, Charbonnet out, he's probably going to see his highest snap rate of the year. The Seahawks are pretty predictable on offense, ran the ball at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL during the regular season. So if they're expected to win or have a lead in the game, I think that should set up well for more opportunities for Kenneth Walker or in general, the running offense for the Seahawks. But next pick, it's our guy, JSN. I think now I've kind of been happy to see that he's arguably, I think, the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. Like even when he's not open, he's open. Like Sam Darnold has kind of made it a priority to target him. 30% target share through 2 playoff games, very consistent with what we saw during the regular season. With that was around 32%. Another thing too, Christian Gonzalez. I know we talk about like how effective he has been since returning, but he's had some issues in coverage. And if they're going to be playing man coverage, they're 31st in defensive DVOA versus wide receiver 1. So I would not be shocked if JSN actually scores the first touchdown of Super Bowl 60. Now, the third pick, this bet has kind of been steamed since I bet it. I got it around plus 400 when the odds first opened up. It's around plus 300 now, and that's Drake May for an anytime touchdown. Scored last week versus the Broncos, led the NFL in total scrambles, 2nd in scrambles per game behind Patrick Mahomes. The other thing, too, when you look at Drake May's splits, his scramble rate tends to take a huge jump when he's not being blitzed. It's like almost 4 times compared to when he is being blitzed. And the Seahawks bottom 5 in blitz rate per game this season. So I think in a potentially trailing game script, there's going to be a lot of dropbacks for Drake May, I think especially in the second half. So I like May to call his own number near the goal line and get the score. I think the shoulder injury is just overblown. So that's around 12-1 if you want to parlay Drake May, JSN, and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I feel that. I think you made some great points about, especially Drake May, because it's. I think the market has been a little overly cautious on him, and I would argue JSN as well. So that's kind of a teaser where I'm going to go with my parlay. So I'm going to go JSN 2 touchdowns.
Nice.
That's at plus 500, and then you throw in that May touchdown, which a little bit overvalued, but you throw it in the parlay with JSN 2, and now you're at 19-1. On DraftKings. So the reason I like this is because this Super Bowl matchup, I think because it's a Super Bowl, because, there's record amounts of dollars flowing in the betting market and whatnot, I'm finding that some of the guys that we would almost never bet on in like the regular season, or even maybe the certain parts of the postseason, like just the kind of the chalk, the things you expect to happen, are being like overvalued or being undervalued. Excuse me. They're just kind of being overlooked. Like JSN is the best player on the field among both of these teams, in my opinion. The fact that he's still like, plus 500, plus 550 for MVP, just because a lot of quarterbacks have won, is bonkers to me, especially when you consider median outcome. JSN like is over 90 yards. Sam Darnold's median outcome is like 230 passing yards. Who would win the MVP in that case? So anyway, but I'm going to say he goes out there and makes a statement. Christian Gonzalez was targeted 16 times in that Houston game. Overall, he's been targeted 101 times. That's most of any Patriot, and he did miss some time as well. So I do think that regardless of the coverage scheme, they're going to find ways to get JSN the ball. And he actually probably, him and a guy like Shaheed, I would say, probably also have outside chances of scoring on the ground if anyone does, because I do think Seattle's going to have to get creative here. I don't know if they're going to be able to just line up the traditional run game, whether it is sneaks or just handing it off. But they might be able to, do something like with a fly sweeper, something like that. So I love JSN to get in twice. And then Drake May, best player on the field when he's on the field, in my opinion. Like, I know the Seahawks have a great defense. Drake May has been spectacular this year. I would take an injured Drake May to get in the end zone over any other Patriot on this roster. I mean, coming into the year, everyone's like, Mike, it's going to take a while. Vrabel's great, but this roster's in shambles. And lo and behold, Drake May carries them to the Super Bowl. I think he has to carry them in this game. I don't think receivers will be open very often for him. And I think Seattle will sit back and rush for, because that's what they built the defense to do. So that is going to lead to Drake May running around. He's going to have to break a tackle or two because there are going to be extra defenders. Iman Warrior, I could see him spying on Drake May if it gets to that. So, but I think Drake May can do it. So give me JSN 2, May 1, 19-1 on DraftKings. Those are our favorite touchdown parlays, but we got more show coming up for you. We're going to make a parlay together like we always do in honor of, hitting it last week. We'll go favorite long shot. And then before we get out of here, we'll also talk king of the end zone. That's the, guy who scores the longest touchdown. Real cool kind of contest they got going on DraftKings. So we'll get into all of those. Before we do, just again, reminder, if you want to tail some of the bets from today's show, all of the bets, any of the bets, find the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. Or even better, you can sign up for Action Pro. Action Pro users get real-time alerts as soon as experts like Stuckey, Brandon Anderson, Jill, Koerner track picks in the Action app. You'll also get real-time money percentages to see where the smart money is flowing. Sometimes it's dumb money too, but nevertheless, you want to see where it's going. And access to our NFL player prop projections powered by Sean Koerner. And right now, to celebrate Super Bowl 60, you can get $60 off an annual subscription. Right now, just go to actionnetwork.com/pro to get started. Again, that's $60 off a year of Action Pro. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro. All right, so let's do this now. Let's come together. We kind of argued the merits of some of these different guys and how we think it's all going to play out. So let's go with our favorite anytime touchdown parlay presented by DraftKings. This is the one where we're each just going to pick one guy. We are on a streak. A 1 week streak here. So let's get it going, guys. Let's keep it going, I should say. Koerner, you're up first.
Yeah, so I just gave out Hunter Henry and AJ Barner. I'm going to stick with AJ Barner as my favorite of the two here at plus 240. You already mentioned that he can get there as a pass catching tight end. He has 6 receiving touchdowns on the season. But the sneaky part with Barner is he could get there with the tush push play at the goal line. And I think with Zach Charbonnet out, those chances go up. And it's been extremely effective this year. A 90% success rate on his 10 tush pushes. That's better than, traditional quarterback sneak. It's the highest success rate of, any ball carrier with 10 or more carries. So I think it'd be silly for them not to kind of use that in a high leverage game like the Super Bowl. So give me AJ Barner at plus 240.
Joe.
All right, I'm going to take Drake May. It's my favorite touchdown bet of Super Bowl 60. It's too hard to ignore the scramble rate of what we've seen from Drake May during the regular season. And I think he's just such a big body. He's kind of like a Josh Allen clone. I think he could just bulldoze over some guys to be able to get into the end zone. He scored last week versus the Broncos, a very tough run defense as well. So anything over plus 250, let's take Drake May in this spot.
Yeah, and I'm going with JSN here. Let's get the anchor going. Again, I think best player on the field. He's scored in over half his games already this season. And this is a spot, a very unique spot where, the Seahawks are facing a defense that just hasn't given up much on the ground, especially in terms of touchdowns. So that, with JSN getting such a high target share already, and the Seahawks also usually keep guys in the block, right? So there's 50% of the time they keep either a tight end or a running back in to block. So that just leaves a more concentrated target share among the guys that are in the route. So JSN, that 30% target share, I expect it to go up in this game. So give me JSN minus 110, Barner at plus 240, Drake May at plus 270, JSN at minus 110. You can parlay those at DraftKings and you get 20-1 odds. So pretty juicy. That was our favorite anytime touchdown parlay presented by DraftKings for Super Bowl 60. All right, we'll add that one to the Parlay Express account in the Action app. That's where we track all of our long shots and things like that. So go follow Parlay Express if you haven't already on the Action app. Have some fun with us on some of those longer shots. And again, while you're looking at Parlay Express, don't forget, again, sign up for Action Pro. It is great. It is the only way for you to get the best bets at the best prices with immediate notifications, which is key when action experts post their picks. And these lines do move. So getting those immediate notifications can really come in big depending on which market you're betting in. You could also find those quick slip links for these bets in the podcast description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. So we have one game. So let's go a little off the radar on this show. We usually kind of do, we're just kind of breaking down the games. We give our favorite parlay. We break down some prime time. We're out of here. But for this one, let's go with our favorite long shot touchdown bet in this game. I do think this is an interesting one for long shots because there are the Seahawks have a whole bunch of guys that they kind of play, but barely play. And then the Patriots, they're a little more kind of an open book, and it's kind of shifts from game to game. I was asking Stuckey, is it going to be Hooper or Westover or a sixth lineman, or is it going to be Pop Douglas? Who's the guy that's going to be kind of that in that game plan? So I think this is a fascinating one to pick some long shots. Koerner, start with you. Where are you going?
Yeah, so if we're going to go with the long shot, might as well go with the long shot here. So I'm going to go with Jack Westover. He was 40-1 this morning. Now he's 30-1. So, someone's onto this.
Any juice?
Yeah, I still like it at 30-1. He's the Pats fullback. And, ever since Antonio Gibson went down in week 5, they've been using Westover a bit more, especially recently. He's seen a snap rate in the 35-40% range the past several games. His routes run rates, in the 15% range. It was, season high 24% against the Broncos last game in the conference championship. So he's kind of in that Nate Adkins kind of troll range there. And, he's obviously in there just to block. He only has 2 targets on the season, but this is the game where, everyone's going to pull out any trick they have in the bag and, giving Westover a carry or, a trick play near the goal line is certainly much more likely to happen in the Super Bowl. So that's why I like him here. But just to kind of catch the Seahawks off guard. But he was decent in college. His final season at Washington with Michael Penix Jr. there, he was 3rd on the team in receptions with 46, only behind Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk. He actually had one more catch than Jalen McMillan, which is kind of crazy. So, he has some pass catching chops. So if they want to kind of, leverage that in some way here, now's the time to do it. So I think he's worth the sprinkle here at 30-1.
Yeah, he only pass blocks 19.3% of the time on pass plays. So he actually does, when he's in on pass plays, he tends to run the route. And I think a big part of Westover and why he's a smart bet is the Patriots offense has kind of gone a little dyslexic, I like to call it. Like they went from like a heavy 1-2 to a 2-1, where instead of Austin Hooper being on the field, it's like Westover now as the fullback, former tight end. Because I feel like at one point he was the third tight end, and then they were like, all right, no, you're just the fullback now. And that's kind of the offense they've been rolling with over the last, probably since the bye, which is where we've also seen Drake May scramble more, and just a lot of different things have changed. So I think that is deliberate. So yeah, there's a chance Westover outsnaps Hooper. I mean, last game, I think it was exactly equal on pass plays anyway. So yeah, I like that one at 30-1. Jill, where are we going for our favorite long shot?
All right, I'm going to recycle a pick from last week. Jake Bobo, anytime touchdown, anything at 10-1 or better. He's around 11-1 right now at DraftKings. He did catch a touchdown in the NFC Championship game, 3 targets in 2 playoff games. 2 of them were in the red zone. This has this reeks of like a Connor Hayward, Nate Atkins feel to it, where if Bobo is on the field, he's likely to be targeted, because technically this season, and including the playoffs, he did have the second highest targets per route run versus man coverages this year on the Seahawks, behind JSN. Now, again, very small sample, only like 10 routes, but it supports that if he does play, there's a good chance he's going to get targeted. So I think it's a good alternative if like the Patriots just completely sell out and focus on taking away JSN. Again, easier said than done. But if they do, receivers like Bobo could just see more usage. I mean, he's 6'4". You look at the other guys in coverage, like Marcus Jones is 5'8". Christian Gonzalez is 6 feet tall. Like he could win in those one-on-one coverages. So I think Jake Bobo at 10-1 is a fun long shot for this game.
Oh man, if you could bet on not only like the touchdown scorer, but parlay it with the guy who he catches it on, like that, because I like that call on Marcus Jones, because yeah, I was looking at that too. Like he's a great corner, but undersized, and he gave up 8 touchdowns this year, which is actually absurd. Yeah, but I mean,
6 feet tall, right? Like
right. But I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers. Like Jones gave up 8 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns, especially for a guy who who's quality guy. Otherwise, pretty good coverage numbers. It's not like he was just getting beat all day, but that's the guy. The Patriots' red zone defense has been bad, and I do think that because of the lack of the run game, it's gonna come down to the pass game in the red zone. So yeah, I like that call. I'm going to kind of stick with it here. We're going to go, we have already 2 bigs. Well, Bobo's not a big, but he's kind of a big. I mean, he's in there to like run block, even though he's a receiver. But I'm going to go Elijah Arroyo here at 10-1. And, Koerner, you and I kind of talked about this earlier in the week, and you made a great point. It's like, if he's probably just going to get refunded, if he's like, you're going to get refunded, or he's going to be the number 2 tight end like that. He's never been the number 3 tight end in the game. Yeah, exactly. So, there's, I will say for people betting, if you only have one parlay or something, like, like if, I don't know how your book, like every book is different, but there's a chance that he gets scratched, which you would just get no action. But obviously if you're combining it with a bunch of different stuff, I don't know if that could upset that, but Arroyo is another guy who, in this game, I'm just looking for talent at this point, because I think it's wide open. We know for the most part who's getting snaps, especially on the Seahawks. But the Seahawks are the favorite. We expect them to score more touchdowns, or they're more likely of the 2. And Arroyo, it looks like that last absence was maybe still a little injury related, because kind of looks like there's more optimism about him, heading into the Super Bowl. So I do think he's going to suit up. He's always been the number 2 tight end, and this is just a guy that has a lot of talent, explosive guy. And in a matchup where I think the Seahawks, not only around the goal line, but just in general, I think they're going to be able to pass heavier than usual, because again, just nobody runs on New England. Like it's just absurd. But I've been saying it all playoffs. You just don't run on New England, and that has kind of led me to some, a lot of the handicaps that I've been having success with. And I think Arroyo kind of stands out for that, where it's like, okay, if Seattle can't get it in, or they don't trust their run game around the goal line, they're going to have multiple tight ends in there. Arroyo has always been the second tight end when he's been active, and he has the talent to beat linebackers, safeties, all those guys for New England that, have stepped up so big this year, but are still, you would say like the weaker points of their defense compared to, Gonzalez and Carlton Davis on the outside. So I think Arroyo 10-1 is a smart bet here because there is some uncertainty, and I think you're getting a little bit of a discount here with him. So like him at 10-1. Again, Koerner likes Jack Westover, and Joe's on Jake Bobo. For me, it's Elijah Arroyo, favorite long shots. Man, I would like to see the odds if we parlay all three of those. Actually, I mean, maybe we can find those while we get to King of the End Zone. But so if you're not familiar, DraftKings is a really fun promotion. It's called King of the End Zone. It's essentially you get to place a bet on a player to score a touchdown, but it's essentially a bet on who's going to score the longest touchdown. Now, whoever else also placed a bet on that player gets a share of the pot of whoever wins. So it's kind of, it has its, kind of similar to DFS in a way, but it's also, there's a lot of game theory with you don't want to just have like the chalk necessarily. And now if he is the longest touchdown, like it's JSN, I mean, you're just going to be sharing the pot with more people. So the idea is to try to find the least likely guy who scores the longest touchdown, I think is the best way to put it. With that being said, Koerner, who you got for King of the End Zone, Super Bowl 60?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, where if you take JSN, obviously you're more favored to get it, but you're going to split it with, a million people. So you just have to decide what your goal is. So anytime I'm in a situation like this where I have to risk nothing and it's nothing but upside, I'm going to go the craziest route possible for the most upside. I think Kyle Williams is a good blend of that because he's obviously a long shot to score here. He's 13-1 to score, which I'm in line with. But they're typically going to be longer touchdowns. The 3 touchdowns this year, 72 yards, 37 yards, 33 yards. So he's typically just getting downfield shots, maybe catch the Seahawks defense off guard. So he's exactly the type of player where, he's probably less likely to score, but if he hits, probably not going to have to share the pot with too many people. So I think in these kinds of situations, I like to go for upside like that. So give me Kyle Williams here. Yeah.
And, you also get the upside of the kick returns. Like he's been on kick return duty, since who do they take off? Efton Chisholm, because Efton Chisholm's probably going to be inactive.
When Matt Collins came back, that kind of helped him out, right? Because they've been making. Yep, that's a great point.
And he was doing it over Dernis Johnson. I think was doing a little bit as well, but I think
those are the two main guys that do it. So those are the two projected guys. If Chisholm is for some reason active, he'd probably take one of those two spots, but he probably won't be active because Jennings, their other running back, was ruled out. So it would have to be like Johnson will have to be active as that third back. But that's just an added upside in that market. Yeah. Jill, where are we going?
All right, this one might probably be the chalky one of the three. Rashid Shaheed, mainly just because I was able to cash in on this in the divisional round. He cashed in for us with a 100-yard return touchdown versus the Niners. But I think just the fact that there's so many outs with Shaheed, you have the return game angle. He's a deep threat. He leads the team in ADOT through both playoff games. Patriots special teams, you don't think of them as like a bad special teams like the way that the Rams were or even the Niners, but 20th in defensive DVOA this year, so not great. And then the Seahawks defense, I think they're going to make the Patriots have to punt a bit more than usual. I think that'll give Shaheed a little bit more opportunities to return some of those kicks. I think as well with the amount of man coverage that the Patriots play, I think he could also find himself in some single coverage for a deep touchdown. And especially, like I said, if they sell it to stop JSN. And I think another thing, too, there's that rushing upside out of the backfield. So I know that we want to talk about guys that you don't have to share the pot as much, but I think out of any player in this game, he has the most upside to likely win this, given all the different angles that he could score from a long range.
Yeah. And, with Shaheed, it's funny because he's got like room for growth as a receiver. Like he's cashed these as a returner like 3-4 times as a Seahawk alone already, but done absolutely nothing as a receiver. So there, like that I think we saw it. Unfortunately, I think it was one of us was on. I think it was Koerner was on the like under Shaheed, and he got like a 51-yarder or something. But like that was like that's the first time we saw it. I think we're gonna see more of that at some point, and you would think it would be in the Super Bowl. So,
and it was probably his only catch of the game too.
Oh yeah, I mean, all right. So I'll just get into mine. And you mentioned like you have the chalky guy, Joe. This should be the chalky guy, Travion Henderson. But we don't know how much he's going to play. love that for this market because that is going to depress his ownership, I think, a little bit in terms of how many people, really end up, sticking with him as the pick when, you do have guys like Shaheed and you just so many other guys that I think you're more confident in. But TreVeyon Henderson is the quintessential guy who you would expect in this game, along with Shaheed to score long touchdowns, blazing speed, carries out of the backfield, can catch the ball. They could design screens for him. And I do think an underrated, because we talked about it with Kyle Williams and Shaheed, an underrated way that Henderson, even if he only plays like another 4 snaps on offense, which he had 4 50-yard runs this year, 50-plus yard runs. So he could still break one, given his low snap count. But TreVeyon Henderson has returned kicks this year. Now, it's the Super Bowl. Would you rather have Dearness Johnson or TreVeyon Henderson returning your kicks if you're not even going to play Henderson that much in the backfield? So I think there's a chance that they kind of throw Henderson back there, and I think it would be in the Dearness Johnson role because, why not? But if you'll remember, a lot of hype for Henderson, right, going into this year. The first kickoff that he ever touched in the NFL in week 1 of the preseason against the Washington Commanders, what did he do with that? He took it a buck, 100 yards, goal line to goal line for a touchdown. And again, he has returned kicks this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the game, he's back there. Maybe they save it for an important time. Sometimes like the Niners will do that with Deebo Samuel. But either way, I wouldn't be surprised. He's returned 9 kicks this year, but hasn't done it since week 8 when he got more involved in the offense. Right now, he's not involved in the offense. Raybon put him back there. But that's just me hoping. But either way, if I think it kind of evens out because if he's not back there on kickoffs, he's probably going to be more involved in the offense. I mean, I think last week was probably the low for him. It was probably the bottom of the market. So either way, like him to score a long touchdown because I think the Patriots will need it too. That's the other thing here. So
yeah, like I said, Jason Myers doesn't really kick too many touchbacks. So any time he's back there for kickoff, he's likely going to be able to return it, which helps.
Yeah, maybe they catch him sleeping. They catch him sleeping. Like you think it's like Dearness Johnson and he just kind of swapping Henderson. Yeah.
That makes it tough. They probably should have him be the return man.
There's a non-zero chance, guys, though, that Ramondre, maybe he might have some fumbleitis, and then they just have to play TreVeyon because that happened during the regular season when TreVeyon's stock just went through the roof as a result. So, again, I'm just putting that out there. In the biggest game of the year, they've really leaned on Ramondre, which is why TreVeyon's not in the backfield. But all it takes is one turnover, and then we're looking at TreVeyon getting full-time snaps.
Yeah. I think that is a great point, and that just speaks to, listen to our other shows. We have a bunch out there, but I think you want to invest in TreVeyon at the tails and the high tail at this point because, there's a high likelihood it's just the bottom of the market, and he's just too explosive, to kind of let that go. And in a Super Bowl, that's kind of difficult to handicap anyway. I think there's some nice upside there. So that's going to do it. Kyle Williams for Koerner. Again, Jill has Rashid Shaheed, and I have TreVeyon Henderson. King of the end zone, that is the guy who scores the longest touchdown, and you get to share the pot on DraftKings. So cool contest. Go check it out. That's going to do it for our touchdown show here on the Action Network podcast for Super Bowl 60, presented by DraftKings. You can find Sean Koerner at _oddsmaker. Jill is at GDog5000 DAWG5000. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. If you haven't already, check out check out Playbook on X. Don't take drugs, kids. And check out Playbook on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. And it will, if you tell it to grab a bet you're looking for, you can screenshot it, whatever, and it'll create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds at the book of your choice. So really cool. Again, that is Playbook on X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Bunch of episodes covering Super Bowl props, breaking down the game. Stucky and I had a really good one as well, breaking down the game. So be sure to check those out. And appreciate everybody for tuning in all year. Any last thoughts before we get out of here, Jill, Koerner?
Go Seahawks.
Let's cash our last parlay of the year here. And the long shot one is 1,500 to 1. Let's count.
Yeah, I went and got that from DraftKings.
Oh,
1,500 to 1.
Oh, yeah. So that was who is that? That was, let me just reiterate.
Westover, Bobo, and Arroyo.
Yeah, 15.
Westo,
Not
Bobo,
not
Arroyo?
plus 15. Not plus 1,500. 1,500 to 1. So add a couple
The
zeros.
clown car
Like that Drake and Central C on the radar freestyle 0, 0, 0. Like that's like there's a lot of zeros after that 1-5 on that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go sprinkle on that right when we get out of here, and we're gonna get out of here right now. Again, thank you for tuning in all year. Couldn't do it without you. Shouts to our producer. Shouts to Eddie. Shouts to D Payne. Shouts to Giff, even though he's not on here. Until next time, let's get this money.